I don't want you to confuse mentoring with being a role model. Role models can also lead by example. But as we've seen in the media, role models can go from good to bad. Mentors have the ability to lead in just about every situation.
If your mentees and the students that you have and the people that you help and the people that you teach don't move above you, it means that you're a bad teacher, not a good one. The new definition of success of a teacher is that the students surpass the teacher.
So we get a lot of questions about being a mentor. What does it mean to be a mentor? Will you be my mentor? Will I be your mentor? Things like that. Here's what I've learned about mentorship. Mentorship is not something you ask somebody to do. Like, will you be my friend? It doesn't work like that. When you find somebody you get along with, you share values, you share beliefs, you spend time with them, you get to know them, you develop trust, you're vulnerable with them, you open up to them, and you discover that you become friends. It's what happens. You start off as simply acquaintances. In my experience, mentorship is exactly the same. There were people who were much more experienced than me, who had wisdom that I didn't have, and when I would call them, they would take my calls. And when I would ask them questions, they would always take the time to give me answers. And over the course of time, they became my mentors, like they became my friends. And I remember one time I was with one of my mentors, Ron Bruder, an amazing guy, and I was leaving his house and I put my arm around him and I said, I'm glad you're my mentor. And he looked at me and he said, I'm glad you're mine. And it caught me completely off guard. And true mentorship, like true friendship, is not a one-way street. It's not about one person only giving advice to the other. Both people are showing up to give, and both people are showing up to learn. But you can't ask someone to be your mentor, especially someone who's a total stranger, knock on their door and say, will you be my mentor, if they don't know you and you've never met them. It's like friendship. You cultivate a relationship, and if that person is always there for you and wants to see you thrive and succeed and believes in you, then perhaps they will become your mentor, like making a friend.
What is that? What is mentoring? And they say to me, teach us the ropes, take us through your journey. Well, my mentors were different. My grandmother was my mentor probably, but she was the most difficult human being I've ever lived with because she was a disciplinarian. Probably I picked up most of the traits from her. If I come across a young matriculant who has great results, I tend to then delve into their personal life other than the results. And then I start to say, how do I help you move you from one point to the next? I've got a young lady from Guatemala who's studying his 5th year medicine now. I sat with her and I said, what do you look like at the age of 35? And she said, as a medical specialist, specializing in this. And I said, I'll take you there.
What is the objective of mentoring somebody?
Well, a great mentor, we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, and there's a reason for that. You listen more and you talk less. That's the first lesson for me that I've learned with these young people. I keep quiet, I listen to conversations. Some of them tell me personal stories, some of them tell me business stories, some of them tell me what I call crazy stories. But at the end of the day, going to your second question then is, how do you respond and make sure that whatever you're going to say makes a difference in the person's life? There are times where you switch people off from the journey they thought they were on, but you know that you're going to disappoint them. And there are times where I will push you hard and drive you to a very uncomfortable zone. And I create those for these young people. I make them very uncomfortable.
Give me the idea of the book. How did this come about?
I love books. I love reading. That's where the whole story started. So if I'm not going to write a book, let me get these mentees sitting in a room on a Saturday morning, which is my free time. It's not free, but I'm working. So they came to my office and I said, guys, I all want you to write a book because you all want to be leaders. But I want you to focus on a subject that is close to your heart, but linked to leadership. Should leaders be Christians or be religious? Should leaders, what leadership style are we talking about? Can we talk about, and we spoke about it, we debated it at length. And after that I said, can each one of you write a chapter? And for me, this book is going to be a reference book that's going to be used by younger people who will be coming, who will be mentees, who will be trained, and those people will relate to each one of these chapters. And the guys were reluctant. Why? Because it's a big ask. So I decided then that we will make this a proper book, must be professionally produced, get a publisher, make sure that that publisher understands the brief. And we spoke to several publishers. And some of them were talking about how do we change this, I didn't like that. I ended up meeting Professor Chilidzi Marwala. Professor Marwala is 46 years old. He's written 25 books. And I said, what are you looking for in a publisher? And he put them for me. He explained to me, and ultimately we settled for UJ Press. And because they understood the brief and they were prepared to do what I was asking them to do. And that's how then the book became real. For me, the journey is one, these young people being in a very uncomfortable environment to write a story. B, thinking about whether are they going to be challenged by somebody tomorrow that whatever you wrote, can you defend your opinion of you? 3, it's a legacy for them. One day they'll tell their children, if they can't write a full book themselves, at least I contributed a chapter in a book. But generally, I'd love people to start reading. And that's what drove me to this project. And it's my mission in life. Do I have time? No, I don't. We make time.
My mentor is Ron Bruder. Taught me what mentorship was really all about. I met him professionally. I was introduced to him. He was very accomplished, very successful, many years my senior, very wise. We got along. And a week or two later, I had a question that I thought he might be able to help me with. And I called him and he took my call. I'd only met him once. And then he took my call again. And then we met for lunch. He just kept saying yes. And he became my mentor, And I remember I was at his house one day and I was leaving and I put my arm around him and I used the M word for the very first time. I said, I love that you're my mentor. And he said something to me that I didn't expect. He said, and I love that you're mine. And that's when I realized a mentor relationship is more like a friendship. You can't just walk up to a random person and say, will you be my mentor? Of course. Just like you can't walk up to a random person and say, will you be my friend? That's not how it works. Mentor relationships evolve because a mentor always has time for you. They see something in you for some reason that they make time for you. And they learn as much as they teach.
Yeah.
They come into it because they learn something. I never knew that Ron was getting something from our time together. I thought he was just doing me favors because he was an amazing guy. And a mentor relationship it's a mentor-mentor relationship. Mm-hmm. So this whole idea of you're assigned to be someone's mentor, I'm maybe that could work.
Well, that seems again going back to sort of a transactional,
transactional. You have to have mentors and you have to seek them out.
Yeah.
I remember when I was junior looking for a job, people would say, "What are you looking for?" And my standard answer in every interview as an entry-level, idiot was that's the theme in my career.
The next book.
I'm just a more senior idiot now.
Yeah.
When they say, "What are you looking for?" my answer was always the same. I said, "What I'm looking for is probably akin to looking for love, but I'm looking for a mentor."
Uh-huh.
And every job that I was looking for, I was more concerned about the people I would work for than I was how much they would pay me or whether the account was high profile or low profile. And so I took jobs with accounts that nobody had ever heard of because I didn't care. I cared about the people I was going to work for. I wanted to work with really smart, amazing people who would teach me and help me grow.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I got to work with some of these wonderful people.
Yeah.